Hello everyone, my name is Fonihan and welcome back to another episode of Honkai Impact. So today we are going to continue with the main story and we're going to go ahead and proceed to chapter 15, The Prodigal Girl Returns. Schiksal Femoral Labs, North Africa, the day before the Ark City incident. This place was once a modern city that served as a hub between Europe and Africa. It was a beautiful Mediterranean metropolis that never slept. And then, a single Honkai eruption transformed it into a dead city in the middle of a lifeless desert. Yet, it was for these reasons that the city became Chiksal's ideal testing ground. Second Divine Key. Alarm sirens could be heard throughout the city. The countdown was broadcast at every corner. When the countdown reaches 0, a cannon in the heart of the city roared and shook every grain of sand. A giant pillar of light shot up to the sky. The beam seemed powerful enough to cleave the world in two. The light then collided with something in mid-air. The beam shattered a portion of the sky like a giant mirror, released a rain of broken shards. The shattered opening revealed a realm of chaos. Stars of ill omen blink within the rolling darkness. Hundreds of shards materialized from the chaos, seeping through the broken gap and falling to the earth below. Oh, those are Honkai beasts. While these shades soared to the sky, the space-time fabric itself seemed to have tilted to one side. A blonde Valkyrie calmly observed the chaotic scene that unfolded before her. Durandal calmly gave her answer and dove straight into battle. Okay, what is Schiksal doing here? Okay, we faced these quantum enemies before, so this shouldn't be that too hard. Oh, that being said though, there's a lot of them. Okay, we're done. Having observed the task many times, Durandal knew the protocols like the back of her hand. 10 Hyperion-class Honkai reactors ran at maximum capacity beneath the city. That's dangerous. These reactors powered the second key to breach the space-time barrier and create a tunnel to the Sea of Quanta. Oh, they're basically trying to create a portal like the Eye of the Death, which is like owned by the Anti-Entropy back in the Seal Bronya chapter. But unstable quantum interface wedding would cause quantum shadows to materialize in the local dimension. Durandal's mission was to defend the Divine Key and defeat the invading shadows. But the Sea of Quanta was not the objective of these experiments. Reaching the operational threshold of the Divine Key made Stage 2 possible. The key could then create a tunnel that goes right through the quantum dimension and enter the unknown. The Terra Incognita, where laws governing the universe and the ultimate truth of life came into being. The Imaginary Tree. Oh. Meanwhile, at Schiksal HQ, Otto's eyes followed the rapidly changing datasheets displayed on the lab monitors. The data was streamed from the African base and provided information about the firing of the Divine Key. Otto's lab was equipped with the most advanced Solium computers. Even then, finding useful hints from the astronomical volumes of data was near impossible. The key required fast power to fire and sustain its beam. Otto had less than a minute to make his observations. He must make sure that every moment counts.
3、2、1、ゲートが閉まりました。実験終了です。
The massive data stream ground to a halt. Otto waited for his computers to generate the result. Vast amounts of resources were poured into this project because the overseer needs a few numbers. Numbers that he has always been looking for. What, 42? Numbers that he has yet to find.
観測結果の計算が終わりました。観測した濃度数は1億8694万。目標濃度までの距離偏差値は54です。
Okay. I'm sure some data nerds is going to appreciate that.
54ビビたる進捗だ。
Otto's voice gave no hint of frustration. He understood the difficulties of this test. He had less than a minute to observe a near infinity of targets. According to his calculation, the tunnel must be kept open for at least 80,000 hours to find a probable answer. He was not interested in the false realities offered by the bubble universes. He must speed things up. A more efficient method for firing the divine key must be found. This remained the only way to fulfill his wish before the Honkai destroys human civilization.
やはり空の律者の力が必要だ。
量子の影、すべての消滅を確認しました。本部からの指示により実験を終了します。デュランダル様、基地へお戻りください。
わかりました。
Vimmer Labs, 1 kilometer underground. The facility bustled with activity. Work began with the end of every test. Instruments must be switched off or reset. The site must be cleared. The Vimmer facility was dedicated to experiments using the second key and could withstand any service-level attacks. Yet this key installation was only defended by a single Valkyrie. And this Schiksal ace rested in her quarters with a stern look on her face.
Rita?
She had just read the Artemis report sent by her adjutant, Rita Rosewise. The most powerful Valkyrie of Schicksal left her quarters without a word. The night sky lit up and illuminated the entirety of Ark City. The residents looked up upon this with wonder. They would never know that they had just escaped the clutches of death. Nor would they notice the savior of the city plunging lifelessly through the clouds. No one noticed, except for one. May dashed across city's skyline, hoping to catch Kiana and break her fall. Enemy mechs closed in from all sides. May could not afford to slow down. May kept swinging her blade. It was the only thing she could do. She finally broke through the final defenses. She was so close to her friend, to Kiana. Whoa, everything is frozen here. Is this Rita's doing? Oh, hello there, Durandal. Before May got any closer, a brilliant blue comet fell from the heavens. The light faded and revealed a blonde Valkyrie who stood in her way. I don't think they've ever met, right, before this point? Yeah. The wielder of the Divine Key Abyss Flower and the Ace S-rank Valkyrie of Schicksal. May, an ex-Valkyrie, knew about Durandal's fearsome exploits. May faced the legend of Schiksal, but she would not back down from the fight.
Kiana Kaslanaを連行します。
May drew a deep breath and tightly gripped her weapon. That's not a good idea. Durandal must build up execution value on the Valkyrie. Will be subjected to throw.
では実力で話し合いましょう。
Oh god, execution value is building up. Okay, so here's the thing about this fight, or like all the fights in this game, is that no matter if you win or loses, your fate was decided by the... Ow. Your fate was decided by the cinematic, not your performance. I think...
そろそろ終わりにしましょう。
Yep, there you go. Your fate was not decided by your performance, but by the cinematic. I don't even get my execution value full.
あなたに勝ち目はありません。ライデン・メイさん。まだ終わってない。キアナちゃんは渡しません。いい目ですね。でも今のあなたにはまだその意志に見合う力がありません。
Durandal leaped into the sky with Kiana, leaving a bright afterburner trail behind her. The glowing trail soon disappeared. May realized that she was left alone on the empty street. May gave chase and ran as fast as she could and tried to push herself beyond her limit. But however hard she tried, she fell further and further behind the trail of light. She exhausted every last bit of her strength and was forced to stop. She shook uncontrollably and released an emotional outpouring of regret, anger, and guilt. The ease with which Durandal brushed her aside and spoke of the fight cut like a knife through her heart. The act of recalling that fight made it worse. Her best friend was taken, robbed with such terrifying ease. But May could not forget this. She could not stop thinking about Kiana. The joyful time at Saint Freya seemed to have just taken place yesterday. And then Kiana suddenly turned into the Void Queen of the Honkai, who wore a grim smile on her face. May fought long and hard for this reunion, only to see Durandal swooping in and taking her away. Everything has changed, except for herself. She remained a timid girl hiding in her corner. She understood that her chances of getting her back were growing slimmer. Heliopolis Life Sciences, Arc City. Rita stood amidst the wreckage. She just learned that Durandal responded to her request for help. That thought alone comforted her.
副隊長、大丈夫ですか？
アルビトルさん、大丈夫ですよ。
先ほどの空中での爆発はご覧になりましたか？空の律者が本当に彼女が崩壊エネルギー爆弾を処理してくれたんですか？彼女はどうしてそこまで？
この都市と人々を守るためにです。
でも彼女は律者ですよ。
今私たちには他にやるべきことがあります。上条製薬から解毒剤を入手しました。彼らの計画は失敗に終わりました。逃げられてしまう前にその尻尾を捕まえなければいけません。
Okay.
時間がありません。急いで上条製薬の情報を。渡りガラスには仲間がいます。空の律者曰く犬頭をかぶった人がいる。
犬頭？どういう意味でしょうか？
何かの例えかもしれません。とにかく急ぎましょう。やはり遅かったですか。
Rita bit her lips when she saw the thoroughly destroyed database.
アルビトルさん、残ったデータの回収をお願いします。
リタ、そちらの状況はどうなっていますか？
デュランダル様、上条製薬のデータの大半は破壊されていました。今、緊急措置を講じています。ご支援、感謝いたします。
ええ、そちらは任せて良さそうですね。こちらは今、空の律者を回収しました。 ですが、すぐに戻れとの命令を主教様からいただいたので、みんなと合流する時間はありません。
かしこまりました。
Rita tried to remain calm, but she refused to cover up her failures.
デュランダル様、この度の失態による責任は全て私が負います。
それに関しては報告を確認してから判断します。
処分をお待ちしています。
リタ、そんなことを言うなんてあなたらしくありませんよ。自分を責める必要はありません。あなたが無事ならそれでいいんです。
ありがとうございます、デュランダル様。
The long and dark night at Ark City finally ended with the arrival of dawn. But the serpent remained hidden. It prepared to make its next move.
ハイヘビの地下闇市と上条製薬は片付けた。渡りガラスも無事撤退できた。天球師の成婚計画は実に残念だ。空の律者という貴重なサンプルも失った。しかし、これほど大事になると、やはり見て見ぬふりはできぬようだ。デュランダル、やっと姿を現したか。孫主、デュランダルが空の律者を連れて行きました。追跡班の報告によりますと、その目的地は北アフリカ。その場所は過去2年間で十数回の異常崩壊エネルギー増幅反応が観測されています。
Oh, so that's how they know that.
その反応は我々がよく知るものです。あの無人都市は第2の神の鍵の実験場に違いありません。
出発しよう。僕たちにはやるべきことがたくさんある。
それともう一つ、15分と36秒前、不安定な状態にあったイオス号エンジンと接触した後、崩壊エネルギー指数はシーリンのものとかなり差がありますが、彼女の羽化はすでに開始したと考えられます。彼女をいかがなさいますか？
彼女のことは僕が決める。
承知しました。
私、どうなったの？体が重い。
She could not see, hear, or smell anything. She reached around and felt nothing. It felt as though she was swallowed by the darkness and her body just kept sinking. Kiana tried to break free, but the harder she struggled, the deeper she sank. She wanted to scream for help, but no voice made its way out of her lungs. She finally saw a beam erupting from the depth of the abyss. Kiana tried to move herself closer to this beam. The beam grew brighter. Kiana could feel her senses returning. And then she heard a soft voice calling her name.
キアナちゃん。
It was gentle and familiar. Kiana recognized it to be May's. She was almost out of strength when she made it to the portal from which the light poured through. She instantly left the darkness behind her and dove into the world on the other side. Before she could celebrate her escape, the scenes she saw shocked her.
何これ？どういうことなの？メイ先輩、どこにいるの？
The once prosperous Ark City was consumed by fire. Smoke and screams of pain and suffering filled the skies. Kiana tried looking for May in this devastated ruin of a city, but found nothing but despair. She refused to believe this. She thought she had thrown that cursed bomb into space. How? What destroyed this city? Kiana desperately looked around for the cause of this disaster. She suddenly noticed her trembling hands. Her own hands. The hands of the Herrscher of the Void.
違う。そうじゃない。メイ先輩、信じて。私はちゃんと。違うの。違う。メイ先輩。夢。
目が覚めたんですね。
Kiana's body tensed at once. She did not know this voice.
あんたはデュランダル？
はい。
Kiana's eyes slowly adapted to the light. She found herself in a heavily guarded cell. She knew at once what had happened to her.
天球師はどうなったの？それとメイ先輩はどこなの？
あそこの危機はすでに去りました。怪我した市民もいません。今バルキリーたちが後片付けをしています。ライデン・メイとその仲間は合流し、天球師を離れました。
メイ先輩、よかった。無事だったんだ。
あなたが今いる場所は天命の北アフリカの実験基地です。他に聞きたいことはありますか？
At least she is nice enough to give us enough information about our whereabouts.
デュランダル、いつかあんたと向き合う日が来るとは思ってたよ。
心の準備ができているのでしたら、これからのことはスムーズに進みそうですね。質問がないようでしたら横になってください。あなたには休息が必要です。
That's not going to happen. Kiana sensed no hostility, but that only made herself more vigilant. She tried to appear calm. She knew that her situation was one of the worst things that could happen.
委員長、委員長。
Kiana called out to Fuhua in her mind, but there was no reply. She then closed her eyes and tried reaching out to her, but Fuhua remained silent. She thought about Fuhua's final words. The sense of despair she felt at Arc City loomed over her once again. But she was no longer the helpless Kiana from the past.
どうやら頼れるのは自分の力だけみたいだね。空の律者の力を使えば、多分。
休息が必要だと言いましたよね。
いつの間に。
Kiana saw her own panic expressions reflected on those blue eyes. Durandal's glare stifled her escape attempt.
この実験室は地表から1000メートルもの深さにあります。逃げられませんよ。
気づかれた？なんで？
不思議に思う必要はありません。あなたの考えがとてもわかりやすいからです。あなたの体は傷だらけで、律者コアの侵食を受け続けています。先ほど気絶した時も、あなたは崩壊エネルギーを出し続けていました。以前はどうだったかわかりませんが、少なくとも今のあなたは、あの力をコントロールできません。ここを出れば、あなたは時限爆弾になります。私の言葉が分かったようですね。では、何をすべきかも分かるはずです。主教様、彼女が目覚めました。とても不思議です。律者の力を使い続けていたにもかかわらず、彼女の体内の崩壊エネルギーは増大しています。
衛星による天球市上空の観測によれば、あのエンジンが爆発した後に発生した崩壊エネルギーは拡散するどころかきれいに消失していた。空の律者があのエネルギーを吸収したのは明らかだよ。彼女は予想通りに成長している。本題に戻ろう。彼女が目覚めたのなら早速実験の開始だ。
今からですか？少し早すぎる気もしますが、今の彼女はまだ天命に強い敵意を抱いています。
あれらのことを経験した後の彼女に天命を信用させる方法が残っているとは思えないよ。
You're damn right, Otto.
逆に今の彼女の状態なら僕の望んだ力を見せてくれると思うが。さあ、実験を開始しよう。君ならうまくやってくれると信じているよ。君のやり方でね。
承知しました。
Private quarters. Kiana stared at the salad. For the first time in her life, she lacked an appetite for food. The Ark City dream and Durandal's words haunted her. May's faint, ghostly voice further tugged at her heart. Her gentle voice was once part of Kiana's life. She would hear it when getting out of bed, having a meal, or taking a class. Kiana then started reminiscing about her seemingly ordinary life in San Freya. The door suddenly opened before she could seek comfort from past memories.
どうしたんですか？バサは苦手ですか？
魚は好きじゃない。骨があるから。昔は骨を取ってくれる人がいたんだけど。
Yep, that is what my parents and my sister did, even though I'm already 23 years old, because otherwise I will refuse to eat fish.
冗談が言えるほど回復したのであれば、あなたの体を心配する必要はありませんね。
Durandal quickly cuffed Kiana.
ついてきてください。
ここはどんなところなの？
見ての通り、ただの廃墟です。
誰がこんなことを？
崩壊の他に、都市を一瞬で滅ぼすものがありますか？
As Durandal's prisoner, Kiana thought of things to say, but secretly studied her surroundings.
見た感じ、役に立つ情報はなさそう。
Durandal's intent remained a mystery, but this trip presented a good opportunity. Kiana focused on the dimensional fissures nearby that are visible only to the Herrscher of the Void. Having spent countless dreams training with Fuwa, she could now find a safe, stable passage within the fissures. But she would need a vast amount of energy to achieve this teleportation, and she had only one shot at this.
委員長。
Kiana thought about Fuhua again, but her guiding voice was nowhere to be found. Now that she was recaptured by Schiksal, what would happen to Fuhua within her mind? Kiana gave that no further thought. She knew she had to escape. A sudden gust of wind created a dust cloud that separated the guard from her prisoner. Kiana seized the moment.
今だ。
She concentrated energy within the invisible dimension and tore the space apart like paper.
早くここを出ないと。
小細工はやめてください。
そんな、どうして？
A lance landed near her feet. She lost her focus. The portal disappeared without a trace. What?
そんなにここを出たいなら、そういうやり方はやめてください。騎士のように正々堂々と私を倒してから、ここを出てはいかがですか？
Nah, dog. Nobody cares about pride. Having said those words, she opened Kiana's cuffs and let them fall into the sand.
避けては通れないみたいだね。わかった。望み通りにしてあげるよ。
Alrighty then, second chance. Oh god, she is pretty tough. Okay, not... Well, no, actually. But then again, you know this game, right?
素質は悪くないです。私の攻撃を見たらすぐに対処法を見出しているようですが、明らかに鍛錬が足りていません。
なんなのこいつ。私を分析するほど余裕ってわけ。でも本当に強い。実際に戦ってみて分かったけど、私の知っている誰よりも強い。
攻撃で相手を押しつぶし、隙ができた瞬間に致命的な一撃を与えるんです。
Well, duh.
そんなの言われなくとも分かってるよ。
The air imploded as Kiana launched herself at Durandal like a cannonball coiled for a powerful kick. Short pain shot through her waist. Her attempt was stopped in its tracks. Durandal easily evaded her attack and responded with a similar kick that sent her flying.
そんな嘘だ。その動き、なんであんたもカスラナのガン型が使えるの？
これは非常に強力な武術です。天命の図書館で研究しました。しかし あなたの動きにはまとまりがなく、全くの別物です。
だってクソパパがそれしか教えてくれなかったんだもん。
あなたの動きは純粋な眼型ではなく、ところどころにバルキリー格闘術の要素が多く含まれています。異なる武技を融合するのは戦士として必要なことです。けどあなたは才能に頼ってその動きを無理やり取り入れています。
Thanks, I guess?
努力もなければそれを理解しようともしていない。まるで大道芸のようですね。
何が言いたいの？
基本となる格闘技もままならないということは、あなたはまだ不完全だということです。あなたでは自分の力をコントロールできません。空の律者。
For many months, Kiana fought many battles alone while she drifted about in the Ark City. But Kiana felt this battle was different. Her instincts warned her of an insurmountable gap between her and Durandal. Brute force would not defeat this opponent. She needed a different approach. Then came a stroke of inspiration. She remembered Fuhua's teachings.
献身を体を競技状態に入るものだと理解するといい。試合の前に頭を空っぽにして体をリラックスさせる。体の細かい変化を感じる。最後、体に流れる力以外、何も知らず、何も感じない。
Kiana gradually let go herself. She paid no heed to who, why, or where she was fighting. Months of oniric training and life-or-death situations culminated in this very moment.
モーネを断ち、呼吸を落ち着かせる。何も知らず、何も感じない。
Oh boy.
退去剣気ですね。なるほど。力技だけではないようです。
ウォーミングアップは終わったよ。ここから私の本気を見せてあげる。
これでしたらそろそろいいかもしれません。その勢いを保ったまま、実戦でも頑張ってください。
実戦？何のこと？
What?
何あれ？
あなたの相手はそれらです。
何を言ってるの？私たちの戦いはまだ終わってないよ。
すみません。これからのテストこそが私の仕事です。
There goes that honor, huh?
全力でそれらを倒して生き残ってください。
倒せたと思ったらまた出てくるなんて、天球師の虫よりもしつこい。このまま戦っても無駄に力を消耗するだけ。こいつら空中のあの空洞から出てきてたよね。だったらまずはあれをなんとかしないと。行って！
How exactly do you destroy a hole?
空洞が消えた。やった。次はあんただ。
An exhausted Kiana crumpled to the ground. She spent nearly all her strength to deal that blow. She was in no shape to continue the fight. Her consciousness slipped away despite her struggles. The last thing she saw was the blonde Valkyrie slowly approaching her. Even then, she had yet to realize the purpose or meaning behind that test. Tensions rose during the awkward silence between the guard and her prisoner as they returned to base.
嘘つき。私が勝ったら逃がしてくれるって言ってたのに。
あなたは漁師の影を倒しただけです。私たちの勝負はまだついてません。
Yeah, you denied a
本
fight.
気を出した途端にやめるだなんて、そんなのないよ。ずるいよ。
あなたの本気は退去剣気なんですね。それは深さんだけが使える技だったと思いますが、いつどこで彼女からそれを学んだんですか？
Not your business.
その質問には答えたくない。
Nice.
ねえ、なんで聖フレイヤ学園にいた時、あんたの話をたくさん聞いた。みんな、あんたのことをヒーローだって言ってた。天命最強の S 級バルキリー。その肩書きは私の憧れだったし、私の目標でもあったのに。なのに、あんたはオットーの方を選んだ。すべての真相を知ってるの？私が経験してきた実験を知ってるの？あの人がしてきたことをあんたは知ってるの？なんであんたそんなに強いのに、悪いやつじゃないのに、どうしてあんたは天命にいるの？
天命がなければ誰がこの星にいる数十億の人々を崩壊から守るんですか？
Bull crap.
あなたも天命のバルキリーでしたら分かっているはずです。この世界に絶対的な善と悪はありません。あるのは使命だけです。私も自分自身の使命のために戦っているだけです。
Apparently not innocent lives, huh? Oh. Alarms went off as surface level explosions sent deep rumbling to the underground facility.
デュランダル様、基地が襲撃を受けました。ヨルムンガンドの機構部隊です。
Okay, World Serpent now. How do they find them?
キアナさん、逃げられましたか？
敵の数が思ってたよりもずっと多い。ここは天命の基地だっていうのに、随分と大胆な奴ら。でも、戦線を回避するくらいなら、そんなに難しくないはず。ごめんね、捕まるわけにはいかないの。
Just as Kiana stood up and prepared to leave, a distant figure caught her attention.
あれは
The man seemed to have felt her gaze and raised his head. Though miles apart, she was able to get a clear view of his face.
ケビン・カスラナ？
Oh no. Oh no. That's not good. Schiksal HQ. Otto sat alone in the lab and contemplated that anomalous moment in the test. The membrane of the imaginary tree was untouchable, even to Durandal. Yet K423 managed to shatter it completely.
空の律者の力が虚数空間にも干渉可能なのは疑うまでもない。すぐそこまで近づいている。残るは時間の問題だ。それと
主教様、基地がヨルムンガンドの襲撃を受けました。敵数がかなり多く、計画的な行動です。また、空の律者がこの隙に逃げ出しました。早急に見つけ出します。しかし、神の鍵を守る必要もあり、私一人ではとても厳しい状況です。
ヨルムンガンド？このタイミングを狙ってくるとは、相手も随分と用意周到だね。今はまだヨルムンガンドの目標がわからない。まずは第二の神の鍵を守れ。あれをヨルムンガンドの手に渡すわけにはいかない。K423 に関しては逃がしていい。遠くへ逃げてくれるほどいい。K423 が離れない限り、我々とヨルムンガンドに交渉の余裕はない。保険はかけておいた。彼女が天命の監視から逃れることはできない。 こちらの要件を処理してからでも探すのは遅くないさ。
承知しました。
Hundreds of mechs charged through the eroded city streets to hunt down their prey. Kevin stood amidst the ruins, tall and unmoving like a statue amidst the iron tide.
孫主、戦闘部隊はすでに基地内部へと攻め入り、デュランダルと交戦中です。
空の律者は？
今のところまだ見つかっていません。捜索中です。
デュランダルを牽制しておいてくれ。
承知しました。
Kevin closed his eyes and listened to the voices that echoed in the breeze. Traces of Honkai energy within miles converged like a giant maelstrom, with Kevin himself serving as its epicenter. He sent energy streams of various strengths, but none was close to that of a Herrscher-level entity. A tiny turbulence in the swirling whirlpool caught his attention. Though it was gone in an instant, Kevin knew he had located his quarry. He opened his eyes and looked towards a ruined skyscraper located several miles away. He saw the girl standing behind a shattered wall.
見つけた。
さっきので私を見つけたなんてことないよね。ありえない。きっと偶然だよ。とにかくここを早く
どこに行く？
なんでここにいるの？
Kiana froze in the man's presence. Her body could not even tremble. His deep, dark gaze resonated with the fear hidden deep within the genetical memory of every human. He wore the gaze of a predator that has found its prey.
あんた、私を殺しに来たの？
The man gave no answer. Kiana then felt scorching heat aim at her chest. The flaming blade was pointed at her heart. He did not hesitate, nor gave any reason for his attack. The blade then sank into her chest.
都政の羽。フワ、久しぶりだね。
Oh, she's back!
やめてください。
委員長。
キアナ、言って。振り返らずに。
そんな。
もう少し一緒にいたかったけど、もうお別れの時が来たみたい。
委員長、いや。
天球師での約束をまだ覚えてる？あなたが約束してくれたことを。ほら、時間を稼ぐから、今すぐここを離れて。
Oh,
ここで
no.
死んだら、世界を変えるっていう約束は叶わなくなる。するべきことをする。それがあなたの責任でしょ。
委員長。わかった。ごめん。
Kiana closed her eyes and ran away without looking back. The girl soon disappeared into the swirling dust.
さようなら、キアナ。
フワ、君は変わったよ。
そうかもしれません。
都政の羽。それは僕の意識に干渉することができないと君も知っているはずだ。
Hua took a step forward and extended her hand, and became as unmoving as a mountain. His eyes flashed with sudden nostalgia. The warrior had stood beside him in countless battles fought over 50,000 years ago.
あなたの意識に干渉するつもりはありません。あなたに私が経験してきたことのすべてを。私の気持ちを見せたかったのです。
The girl ran across the ruins, not giving a care to the battle around her. Giant constructs of iron and steel tried to block her way. she vented her anger and frustration on them. Her attacks pulverized and destroyed, but they were utterly meaningless. She clearly knew that she had faced a hopeless fight and was forced to flee. The girl gave a furious roar. A Honkai storm swept across the hostile mechs and destroyed them. The sudden outburst of stored energy exhausted Kiana. She collapsed to the ground and wheezed. The outburst may have suited her, but it soon invited a wave of pain and loss. She looked to the horizon and saw a dust storm that bloated out the sky. She knew she had no choice. She must keep moving or the sand would bury her. Durandal looked to the boundary between the city and the desert. A figure could be seen shimmering in the heat haze.
そのまま行かせてください。主教様の指示ですから。
しかし、いつしを簡単に逃がして本当によろしいのでしょうか。
ええ、彼女は敵ではありません。ただ、一つ言いそびれてしまいましたね。バサは小骨がないから、骨を取る必要がありません。
Yeah. While Durandal crushed the World Serpent invasion, another battle ended in the dream world created by Fang Huang Dao.
不破、君の最後の技は確かに強力だった。僕たちは人類が崩壊に勝利した日を共に見ることができるはずだった。君はたくさん頑張った。休息が必要だ。これからのことには手を出さなくていい。僕が僕たちの使命を果たすから。
Kevin touched Fuwa's extinguished shadow. He opened his hand. An ephemeral feather rested in his palm. The dream world disintegrated at that very moment. Kevin was once again standing in the middle of the dusty ruins.
すべてが終わったら君を起こしに来るから。
孫主、やっとつながりました。何があったのですか。
友人と昔話をしていただけだ。
空の律者が能力を使って逃げました。現在位置は確認できません。デュランダルもそちらに向かっています。
いい。まずは彼女から片付けよう。
The blonde Valkyrie suddenly stood before him before he could finish his word.
あなたがヨルムンガンドの首領ですね。
来い。
望むところです。
Oh boy. The sandstorm and crashing waves outside the ruined city symbolized the conflict raging within. A sudden blast of extreme cold radiated outwards and instantly froze the ocean surface into an icy plain. This anomalous phenomenon heralded a battle of epic proportions. Oh, it's actually a cinematic. Interesting. Wait. Okay. What is his power exactly? Crystals? The two powers were opposing forces of nature poised to collide in a mighty crash. Only strength can prevail. But just before battle could be joined, a figure calmly stepped into the arena. He was perfectly composed and treated the scene like a connoisseur admiring a majestic tapestry. おっと、アポカリプス。
やめるんだ。
司教様。
ヨルムンガンドの狩猟よ。君は十分に力を見せつけてくれた。僕も相応の礼を返そう。オットー・アポカリプス。天命の元主教だ。
Kiana trudged on the hot desert sands far away from the Schiksal base. Her body felt heavier with every move. Fatigue threatened to overwhelm her mind. A cold, empty void emerged within her heart and grew with every step until it could almost swallow her whole.
あなたはまだ不完全だということです。あなたでは自分の力をコントロールできません。空の律者。
するべきことをする。それがあなたの責任でしょ。
Her journey seemed endless, but she had no choice but to go on. Yet a name remained in her memories. The name dragged at her feet and urged her to turn back. There was a time when she was always by her side. She must be on a desperate search for her whereabouts. Where would she be right now? Where would she go?
Mei-senpai.
Kiana did not know if it were beads of sweat or tears of longing that flowed down her cheeks. She closed her eyes, and for some unexplainable reasons, she suddenly longed to return to that place. The place where their fates were bound as one. The place where they first met. Nagazora. Oh, is that a teaser for the next chapter? I guess it is. But anyway, I think that's pretty much it for this episode. As always, if you like this video, then don't forget to leave a like. And if you want to see more videos like this, videos where I play Honkai Impact episodes in the future, then be sure to subscribe because there is a lot more coming. We still got a lot of chapters to go to reach chapter 28, which is the current chapter. Yeah, it's going to be a long journey. And with that, I think I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.